Have you ever given your heart to someone, only to feel like you were never truly loved in return? Have you ever poured your time, energy, and emotions into a relationship, only to realize that the person you loved was only there for what you could offer? If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many men have faced the pain of loving a woman who was only in it for herself. But how do you recognize the signs before it's too late? How do you stop yourself from being used, manipulated, and discarded like you never mattered? In this video, we'll uncover 6 undeniable signs of a selfish woman, the kind who takes and takes but never gives. And by the end, you'll understand how Stoic philosophy can help you detach from these toxic relationships and reclaim your power. But before we begin, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button. This video might just save you from heartbreak in the future. And trust me, watching until the end could completely change how you see love and relationships. Now let's dive in. 1. She saw your love as a resource. Recall the moment you realized how much you loved her. It seemed genuine, didn't it? Her expressions, the way she smiled as you held her hand. To you it meant more than simply being a guy. It meant she regarded you as her man. Think about it. Was her motivation for being with you love, or was it to get something out of you? Things were rather minor at start. A little assistance here and there would have been great, and she could really use some cash right now. You were the one person who could lift her spirits when she was feeling low. You orchestrated her outing because, well, she wanted to go out. By the way, you were totally cool with it, for the simple reason that love makes sacrifices a desire. Their happiness is your goal. However, you soon began to see a trend. She relied on you for all of her needs. However, why wasn't she there for you when you needed her? Too busy was her new reality. Keep in mind the period when you were going through a tough patch. Perhaps it was a particularly trying day at the office, concerns at home, or simply an unpleasant sensation you couldn't shake. Glancing at your phone, you hoped she'd send a text message first. However, she chose not to. Thus, you made contact, and her exact words? "I'm kind of busy right now." "You'll be fine, don't overthink it." Or even worse, she paid you no mind at all. At that point, you began to understand that she was physically there only when she was robbing you. But stealing isn't love. The key is to share and to support each other without bias. May I inquire of you something? Would you believe she would have stayed if you had stopped being the one to solve everything for her? Stopped being generous and stopped helping? You have an innate understanding of the solution. You will never be treated as a personal servant ATM or therapist by a lady who loves you deeply. When you're at your lowest, she'll be there to support you. Whenever you're down and out, she'll find a way to make you feel appreciated. What about a lady who is self-centered? As long as you're useful to her, she'll leave. When you're unable to do it, she vanishes. Please continue to watch if any of this sounds familiar, due to the fact that the following indicator, everything you thought about love will be challenged by it. 2. Her love depended on your effort. Put your eyes closed for a second. Remember the best moment of your relationship. It may have been the time you surprised her with a present or treated her to a vacation she'd always dreamed of. Recall her expression when she saw you that day? Like there wasn't another man on earth but you. Consider now the instances in which you opted out of doing so, as soon as you didn't treat her to an expensive gift. When you didn't feel like planning a nice date because you were exhausted. For once, when you didn't initiate the text. Has her demeanor changed? Initially, you wondered whether it was all in your head. Her love was conditional though, and that became clear later on. What you accomplished for her, rather than your inherent qualities, was the reason she loved you. Consider it. How much more of her affection would she have had for you if you hadn't tried? If she loves you, a genuine lady won't make you feel like you need to prove yourself all the time. Even on the days when you fail to wow her, she will adore you for being there, for your spirit, and for the sense of security you provide. What about a lady who is self-centered? She remains for as long as she finds value in you. So I have a question for you. When was the last occasion that she took action on your behalf, just because she wanted to, rather than because you asked or because it was expected? I can't remember of a moment when I could. You are already aware of the reality. If the truth stings, stick with me because I'm about to reveal something else. For most guys, it's the one that breaks them. 3. Being close to other guys was normal for her. Can you recall the initial moment when you were aware of it? That moment when she had a bit too much fun at another man's joke? That friend she brought up a bit too frequently? Remember how she held her phone at arm's length while texting? You convinced yourself it was insignificant at first. You had faith in her. But then you approached her about it one day. And her exact words? You're overthinking it. He's just a friend. You're insecure. Therefore, you repressed your emotions. In your mind, you were certain that you were insane. However, you knew it in your heart. Next, something occurred. Perhaps an unauthorized communication appeared to you. Who knows? Maybe someone did tell you. However, it is possible that she just departed. Who did she end up with after that? That just a friend ended up dating her instead. The truth is, a lady who loves you would never treat you like a commodity. You can always count on her to keep you apprised of your status in her life. You shouldn't settle for her as a partner. If she's always trying to get male attention, or if she treats you like a number rather than an individual, feeling like you're enough is something a genuine lady will ensure. She isn't the kind to keep her options open by flirting with other males. She will not tolerate males who label you paranoid when she is seeing other men. Love isn't about having a plan B. Choosing one person to spend each day with is the essence of love. But what if she had gone with someone else? After that, you must decide which option is best for you. Now, if you're beginning to recognize any of these indicators, be vigilant. For the simple reason that what about the subsequent ones? You'll finally see the truth through their eyes. For you were always the one to blame. Recall a time when you and her had a fight. She seemed unconcerned by your communication for hours, before responding with a roll of the eyes and the words, "You're overreacting." Perhaps it was over something little, or perhaps it was a more significant matter. Perhaps she was seeing another guy too much, and she lost her cool when you told her how it made you feel. I can feel your insecurity. How am I supposed to make friends? Does the ending always stick with you regardless of the circumstances? The apologies were offered by you. Responsibility was never hers. Never acknowledged that she was incorrect. Plus, you seemed to be the issue at all times. Had she been impolite? You were too sensitive, and that was the reason. What if she paid you no mind? You were too needy, and that's why. Did she engage in flirting with other men? Your being too possessive was the reason for it. You resisted at first. No, I'm not insane, you assured yourself. My emotions are legitimate. However, as time went on, you began to doubt your own judgment. Perhaps your reaction was exaggerated. Perhaps your sensitivity was excessive. Perhaps she was correct the whole time. She intended for you to feel just that way. A self-centered lady, you know, will always deny her mistakes, since doing so would necessitate a transformation on her part. She is unwilling to alter her ways. She desires authority. She wishes there were no rules and she could do as she pleased. Even when she treats you like dirt, she still wants you to think how blessed you are to have her. As for the most unfortunate aspect, you began to put your faith in her. You began to tread carefully, worried that she might abandon you if you dared to speak up, which means you choose to remain silent. Even though you knew it wasn't right, you still allowed her get away with it. However, I must inquire, do you truly believe that constitutes love? Love doesn't consist of diminishing one's worth so that another can feel strong. Manipulation, blaming, and control have no place in love. When you're hurting, a genuine lady who loves you will listen. No, she will not label you as too sensitive. Your feelings will not be seen as insignificant by her. Why? Because in a genuine partnership, each partner shoulders some of the load. What about a lady who is self-centered? At all times, she will cast you as the antagonist. Also, stay tuned if you recognize this. Due to the fact that the following indicator, there's this one that manages to break guys repeatedly. She only wanted you when you were moving on. If you recognize this, please let me know. She was cold and aloof for weeks. Your texts were almost ignored by her. When you attempted to show her affection, she appeared irritated. She gave the impression that your love was too much for her, that you were too much. Thus, you have chosen to release at last. First, you ceased texting. You ceased your pursuit. A self-centeredness set in. And after that, she returned. You are missed. Your significance to me has finally dawned on me. I was wrong. Would you like us to give it another shot? Her sweetness returned all of a sudden. You were now the center of attention, and the girl who had previously ignored you was now pleading for your love. You thought you had the victory in the bag for a little while, as if she acknowledged your value at last. But I want to know, did she truly alter the last time she returned? Or was her brief presence only a poignant reminder of your need for her, and then she vanished without a trace? A woman who is egotistical will never desire you, even if she loves you. She desires you because she fears losing command of you. She is terrified because she sees you fleeing. The real reason is that she is terrified of losing control over you, not your affection. Consequently, she returns. Once again, she embodies the ideal girlfriend. What happens when she realizes you're hooked? She departs once more, and the cycle continues indefinitely, until you reach a point where you are able to escape. What I want to know is, how often has she done this to you? How many times has she returned to cause you pain? If you've ever trusted her words, you've probably ended up even more broken than before. She wouldn't desire you just as you were going on if her love for you was genuine. She would have always made it clear that you weren't even a consideration. No lady worth her salt will ever make you feel insignificant until you do something to earn her affection. She will not wait for you to recover before telling you how much she cares. Even when you're not doing well, she will still select you. What about a lady who is self-centered? When she feels herself slipping away, that's when she returns. My advice then is that you should not return the favor the next time this happens to you. Because what happens when you withdraw from her and start caring about yourself? At that point, you have triumphed. And if you found it upsetting, you should definitely keep watching. Due to the fact that the following indicator, this proves without a reasonable doubt that she was never really yours. You were just a phase. She's already moved on. May I inquire of you something? Tell me when you last thought about her. Was it earlier today when you awoke and perused your phone? Still holding out some hope for a message from her? Did it happen as you were walking by the cafe, where you and your friend used to sit and laugh for hours? You could have been looking at old images in the middle of the night, when the memories were at their worst, and you wondered if she ever thought about you too. What I'm about to tell you could hurt. And while you're stuck here, trying to figure out what went wrong, she's already gone on. As for the most unfortunate aspect, quickly she proceeded. She seems oblivious to the pain of grief, as she posts images of herself with new people and lives her best life online, as if you were only a chapter that she eagerly concluded. Explain it to me. Isn't it something that makes you think? How could someone who has professed their love for you so profusely, anyone who said, "You're my forever," one who made you feel like you were perfect, just the way you were, continue with such ease? Just look at the solution. You were only a passing fad to her. You were never in her plans for the future. To her, you were only an event. She relished it while it was happening, but she could simply find something else to do when she grew bored. And the worst part is, she most likely didn't even wait for the split to end before she moved on. Consider it. Her behavior a few weeks before to her departure. How she had new friends out of nowhere. Something she had never mentioned before. Despite her indifference to your plans, she always seemed to find a way to fit anything else into her schedule. In your heart, you knew. Prior to telling you, it's over, she had already begun working on her next chapter. That is the most difficult aspect to accept, isn't it? The epiphany that she was already planning her next adventure while you were giving her your heart. My question is this the type of lady you wish to hurt with all your might? Do you really wish to continue being so hard on yourself because someone else treated you like garbage and took your position? The truth is, a lady who loved you deeply could never let go of you so quickly. She wouldn't treat you like a passing fad and delete you without a trace. She wouldn't abandon you for another man as if your love were nothing. She would have the same sense of loss that you do. Unfortunately, that isn't the case. You have your answer. What are you going to do next? You pull off the unanticipated, you too go on. Nothing to do with seeking vengeance, for no other reason than that you have nothing to prove to her. You should expect better, though. You felt like a phase to her? Very well. This, however, proves that she was never intended to serve as your ultimate goal. What happens when you come to that realization? Real release occurs at that point. Stoic philosophy. What you can learn from this. Feeling that agony? Yes, it is. Yet it is only a temporary fix. We are powerless over other people, but our responses to them are under our control, as Stoicism teaches. If you give in to a self-centered woman, she will control you. When you finally face reality and let go of a person who was never rightfully yours, you reclaim your power, and keep in mind that you were never truly owned by someone, if they could be replaced so simply. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.